I was standing in my greenhouse when the phone rang. My hands were dirty. They usually are. My mother's voice came through calm and firm. She told me I was not welcome at Thanksgiving dinner, not because of anything I had done, because of how I looked, because my sister's new boyfriend came from money, and I apparently did not fit the picture they were painting. I listened. I did not argue. I thanked her and hung up. Then I stood there for a moment between the ferns and the grow lights. I thought about the folder sitting in my lawyer's office. I thought about the number at the top of that folder, $15 million. And I went back to work. My family had spent years deciding what I was worth. They looked at my flannel shirts and my work boots and made up their minds. If you have ever worked hard at something real and watched people dismiss it without a second look, you already know how this feels. You know that specific quiet that comes over you. Not anger exactly. Something colder. Subscribe before we go any further. This story has one of the most satisfying endings I have ever told. I do not want you to miss a single part of it. My name is Clara. I am 34 years old. I run a small plant nursery in Portland, Oregon. It is not glamorous work. My mornings start before 6. My hands are calloused and my boots are usually caked with something. I grow specialty plants, native species mostly, and I sell to landscapers and private clients. It pays my bills. It pays them well, actually. But my family never saw it that way. In my family, there is a clear order of things. My mother, Beatrice, sets the social calendar. My sister, Penelope, chases the next impressive thing. My father nods along to whatever Beatrice decides. And I have always been the one they forgot to mention. I do not say that with self-pity. I say it because it is simply what was true. At family dinners, I was seated away from the main table conversation. At holidays, I was handed tasks. Arrange the flowers, carry the boxes, park the extra car. I was useful the way a good appliance is useful. You notice it when it stops working. You do not think about it otherwise. There is one detail I want you to hold on to. My grandmother Martha noticed me. She was the only one who ever came to the nursery. She would sit on the old wooden stool near the potting bench and just watch me work. She never needed me to be anything other than what I was. I think about that stool a lot. My grandmother Martha passed away 2 years before any of this happened. She left behind a significant estate. The centerpiece was a trust worth $15 million. Penelope was named the beneficiary. That part the family knew. What nobody knew was the second part. Martha had named me the sole trustee of that trust. Not Penelope. Not my parents. Me. She had watched for years how the rest of the family treated her money. Every visit came with a request. Every phone call circled back to finances. Martha told me once that she felt like a vending machine at a bus station. She did not feel that way with me. So she gave me absolute authority over those funds. I could release distributions or I could hold them. I could set conditions or I could not. The decision was entirely mine. I had never told anyone, not because I was waiting to use it. I told myself I was protecting the process. I told myself it was just not the right moment. But if I am being honest, part of me was not sure I deserved that kind of authority. My grandmother believed in me more than I believed in myself. That was the truth I sat with. What nobody in that room knew was any of it. The Thanksgiving call was not the beginning. It was just the most recent entry in a very long list. 2 Christmases before, Penelope had introduced me to her colleagues at a holiday party. She called me her sister who does gardening, not horticulture, not my business. Gardening. Like I trimmed hedges for a hobby. I watched her colleagues nod politely. I smiled and excused myself and refilled my glass. My jaw stayed tight the entire drive home that night. The following spring, my mother called to ask if I could donate centerpieces for Penelope's engagement party. Not buy them, donate them. I spent 4 days building those arrangements by hand. $200 in materials, 20 hours of work. At the party, Beatrice introduced the flowers as something she had sourced from a local vendor. No name, no credit. I found out from a cousin who overheard the conversation. I did not say anything that night. I drove home and I watered my plants. But the phone call 5 days before Thanksgiving was different. Beatrice's voice was steady and almost kind. That made it worse. She explained that Penelope's new boyfriend, Julian, came from a venture capital background. She said his world had expectations. She said my lifestyle, and she used that word carefully, would not fit the image they needed to present. She was not cruel about it. That is the part that still sits in my chest when I think about it. She was just practical. As if I were a scheduling conflict. As if I were a problem to root around. I said I understood. She said she knew I would. Then she hung up first. The Monday after Thanksgiving, they came to my nursery. All 3 of them. Beatrice, Penelope, my father. Julian's firm had run a background check. Standard procedure for large financial relationships, Penelope said. The check had surfaced the trust. They knew. The door opened and the cold air came in with them. Beatrice was already talking before she reached the counter. Penelope held a document in her hand. My father stood slightly behind them both. He did not meet my eyes. I need to pause here. Has anyone ever treated your work like it was invisible? Like what you built did not count because it did not look the way they expected? Tell me in the comments. I had not planned for this moment, but I had lived with the information long enough. I knew the documents. I knew the numbers. I knew exactly what the trust agreement said. I listened while Beatrice explained that I did not understand real-world finance. I listened while Penelope said I was lucky they even acknowledged me at family events. She said that last part while looking at my work boots. My hands were on the counter. I kept them still. Beatrice slid the document toward me. It was a trustee resignation form, clean, notarized, already prepared. They had done this before I even knew they were coming. I looked at the paper for a moment. I thought about Martha's stool in the corner of my greenhouse. I thought about a woman who sat quietly and watched me work. I thought about whether I was about to let her down. That was the moment of doubt. It lasted about 12 seconds. Then I looked up. I told them I would not be signing anything. I told them Martha had made her decision and I was keeping the role she gave me. Beatrice started to respond. I mentioned I would see them all at the Portland Heritage Gala the following evening. Penelope laughed. She said I could not get past the doorman. I reached under the counter and set my badge flat on the wooden surface, gold, engraved. It read founding donor. The room went quiet. Not a comfortable quiet. They had no idea what was coming. The gala was held at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. I arrived at 7:15 in a charcoal-tailored gown. My badge was on. I had funded this event to the tune of $60,000 over 3 years. My own separate inheritance, not the trust. Mine. The event director greeted me by name at the entrance. She took both my hands. She pointed out a floral installation near the main staircase. She said the design team had used specifications I had recommended 2 seasons ago. I thanked her and moved inside. I saw my family near the east corridor. Julian was with them. Penelope was laughing at something he said. Beatrice was scanning the room. Then she saw me. Her face did not fall dramatically. It just stilled, like a clock that stopped mid-tick. Over the next 40 minutes, I watched 3 separate board members approach me. I watched the event photographer ask to take my photo near the installation. I watched Julian notice all of it. He excused himself from my family. He introduced himself to me directly. His handshake was firm. His voice was careful. He asked how long I'd been involved with the gala. I told him 3 years. He nodded slowly. Then Penelope was at my elbow. Her voice had changed. It was softer now. She called me Clara in a way she had not used since we were children. I said it was a lovely event and excused myself. My glass was still cold in my hand as I walked away. Monday morning, I sat across from my estate lawyer, Elena, in her office on Southwest Broadway. The trust documents were open on the table between us. I told Elena what I had decided. I was keeping the trustee role. The trust would remain active, but distributions to Penelope would now be conditional. Condition 1, Penelope must complete a certified financial management course. Condition 2, Penelope must demonstrate 18 months of stable employment. Both conditions had to be verified by Elena before any funds were released. Elena asked if I was certain. I told her yes. She drafted the amendment that same morning. By noon, I had signed it. That afternoon, I called Penelope and asked her to come to the nursery. She arrived with Beatrice. My father waited in the car outside. I set the amendment summary on the counter between us. I did not raise my voice. I explained what I had done and why. Penelope read the page once. Then she read it again. The color in her face shifted slowly. Beatrice reached for the page. Her hands were not steady. Penelope's voice came out high and tight. She said this was not legal. I told her Elena's contact information was at the bottom of the page. She said I was doing this out of spite. I told her I was doing it because Martha wanted the money protected. She said Martha would never have wanted this. I let that sentence sit in the air for a moment. Then I told her that Martha had chosen me for exactly this reason. Beatrice started to speak. I picked up the page. I folded it once and held it out. Penelope did not take it right away. She stood there with her arms at her sides. That moment was not clean. It was not neat. Her eyes were glassy and her chin was moving. I noticed that. I did not feel triumphant exactly. I felt the weight of it, but I held the page out until she took it. Then I told them both I needed to get back to work. I had a delivery arriving in 20 minutes. Here's what I know now. I was never the invisible one. I was the one they chose not to see. There is a difference. Martha knew it. That is why she trusted me with the most important thing she had. The people who overlook you are often most afraid of what you carry. They had written me off because it was easier than paying attention to tell me something. If this had been you, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have given them one more chance? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who needs to hear the story right now, send it to them. They will know why. If this story gave you that feeling, that specific satisfaction of watching the truth finally land, subscribe. Because I have more. Stories about people who were written off and counted out, who then made sure that was the last mistake anyone made. See you in the next one.